So this is kind of my path on how I got into level design. It's kind of a little long-winded. I'll skip through the first bit fast so I can get to any questions or kind of portfolio stuff. But that's my name, that's my email if you ever want to send me anything. I don't think it gets filtered out. It does. Sorry. Yeah, a little bit of background. I've been at Blizzard for like 10 years now, almost 10 years. And about 7 years of that has been level design, before it was tools QA and QA. And it all, like, it's kind of weird standing here now talking about it because I never had that plan. I never had a solid plan of how to get into design. And it all started with my parents who were like, hey, what do you want to do when you grow up? And my first response was, I want to be Maverick Kentucky. Wow, that's good for a message. There we go. I want to be Maverick Kentucky. He flies jets, he gets the girl, he rides motorcycles, it's awesome. My parents looked at me and they said, you know what? You're too tall, you're not mean, you can't run, and you can't be a firefighter. And I was like, wow, that's what I was. So I said, what else can I be? And in the wisdom of a 6-year-old and watching it floating all day, I ended on space camp, being an astronaut. I was like, I was sold on this. Perfect. My parents looked at me like I was dumb, and they were like, well, you're going to be a fighter pilot, an astronaut. Plus, you need to learn math. Great. Okay, I'm running out of options here. We've got an astronaut and some lawyers. So, video games. That's actually a ridiculous shirt. That's my cousin, and this is where my dad foster started. And so this started my big plan, where I told my parents, I'm going to be in video games. I'm going to do something with them. I don't know what it is, but that's what it is. Now I can really be a programmer, play Mario, I know there's plenty of jobs, and I'll find one that, it's going to be great. Shortly after I moved to Michigan, California, which is a blessing in disguise, because I got close to all the studios around here, and made my way to UCI here. I graduated in 2000. I had started in community college, I transferred over here, and I was trying to actually get a major in Japanese. At this point in my kid's plan, I was going to be a translator. You know what, it's going to be great, I'm going to go to Japan, I'm going to translate all my favorite games, I love Final Fantasy. Yeah, I spent a lot of time in this building. Monday through Friday, like 8 hours a day, I was here. And I spent a little time at UCLA over the summer for intensive Japanese, once again, 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. And I came back to UCI feeling refreshed and recharged and saying, I got this. And my teacher had a moment with me where I was having trouble, and she goes, you don't think like a Japanese person. I'm not Japanese, so. But what she was really trying to say is, I don't think internally in Japanese when I'm speaking. So I was never really able to get fluent with it. I was constantly translating in my head and spelling something back. This is right around the time where I actually tried to translate a game, which was Final Fantasy Crisis Core. And I sat there, and it took me forever, and it wasn't enjoyable. And then I was like, time to pivot. And so what I used all my experience doing with Japanese, and I became an East Asian Studies major. I learned a lot because it was a lot of fun, and I actually enjoyed a lot more Japanese. There was a lot less studying and a lot more. This is an actual picture of my graduation taken by my parents. I'm somewhere over here. So I went online, I grabbed this because it's nice and clear, and that's what it looked like. I was happy, I graduated, I could now get out and know the world. So I started sending my resume to everybody. And at this point, there wasn't a really great resource for figuring out where the studios were and what they were hiring for and everything. So I went into my huge backlog of games, looked at the back of every one of them, found the company, Googled it, mapped it out on the map, and said, all right, time to send them a resume. And I neglected one. I neglected Blizzard for a long time because I didn't think I was good enough to work at Blizzard. And it took me a long time to kind of build up as knowledgeable as possible. I'd taken a hiatus for college. And they were the only ones to give me an interview. Out of all of those responses. But it was for night crew Q&A. This is 7 p.m. to 4 a.m. I don't think it exists anymore, or if it does, there's one I don't know. But this was an interesting time for me, because this is when I made it into a video game, starting to apply my notes. And it really taught me that there are many means to an end, many ways to get into design. And these are just a smattering of what the people around me did to get into design. And it generally meant finding a collaborator. I took a look at this and tried to find out where I would like to be. This is very my manager came in on Monday meeting. We all gathered up into the cafeteria and they're talking, and apparently they're having trouble finding people to fill positions on the QA team. And his name was Ted Lewin, he came up and he's like, what better way to get into design than to test the tools the designers are using to make them? And to me, I was just like, instantly clicked, that's what I want to do. And so I was kind of fearful. I was like, oh man, after this talk, I'm going to go, what do I do? There were only 2 people that applied, and it was my friend and I, and we both got the job. It's great. So tools QA testing is not very clear. You have to find them, because you're looking at a field, and you say, well, can I put 1 in this field? Can I put 2 in this field? Can I put 9,999 in this field? Can I put cat in this field? Try and save it with the database, make sure nothing breaks. Generally, you end up with dialogues like this. It's like, I just put a string in, yeah. So for 3 years I did this, got really proficient at it, and I really started to find what I was interested in. I tried to make a great boss, and that was horrible. Every spell in World of Warcraft, if you open the spell editor, there's probably 300 buttons. It's just a mess. And that's one spell. Most encounters use like 30 minutes. Because spells drive everything in World of Warcraft. So I was like, all right, I'm sitting in my tools position, but I want to get into design. I'm really interested in the level design kind of aspect of it, using terrain definition, putting things down. And these are kind of things I ran into. You're always kind of told to do the best of your job. And when you do the best of your job, you're going to move on to where you want to go. That's from a manager. Not everybody is going to move on to where they need to go without the skill set. And so, really, you kind of want to branch out. You want to become desirable to other teams. You want to talk to them. You want to gather skill sets. And you want to take on more responsibilities because you get some more exposure to other people on the team. And yeah, own your career, no one will do it for you. There have been people that just get passed aside because they're happy doing their job, but to a manager, that's kind of what you want to do. You want them to be doing their job well. You want them to excel in their career, but you're not going to push them into this next stage. That has to be on them. And yeah, hearing out all of your opportunities, because I was actually looking at a TA for cinematics, in-game cinematics, because they use the same tool that developers use, which is called WowEdit. And that's where they make all the in-game cinematics. So, I know really well, it's going to fit. It didn't really fit with the production of tools QA, so I didn't get to do that, but it's not bad. Or it's not bad. It has a happy ending. Another one is making connections. I'm not very outgoing, and I'm terrible at public speaking. I've gotten better over the years, but it's still pretty bad. You can find clips of BlizzCon panels, I'm sure. Always listen to the question, because sometimes you're called on it to answer. I was told a long time ago to not bother developers. They're busy, they've got things going on, don't talk to them. Yes, you don't want to pester them constantly, but asking them to go to lunch, picking their brain a little bit, and kind of seeing their perspective or what they want to see from somebody coming into a new position is a great way to, 1, make connections, 2, get people, and 3, start applying acting. can grab the lead. I started, because I was shy, I started with somebody that I knew and I was familiar with, and he was a junior. And he was like, man, why are you talking to me? Talk to the lead. He's the one that's going to do it. He's the one that's going to hire you to do this position. Okay? And it was Jonathan Dumont at the time, who is now working on Assassin's Creed over at Ubisoft. So what I did is I talked to him and I found out what the pillars of level design were. Like, what are your main pillars? Because when I make a portfolio, I want to act on these. I want to show you that I can match these things. That I can tell a visual story just using art. I don't have to sit there and spam plus text to you and try and get you to do this. Like as level designers, we're always putting everybody else's work in the forefront. So if you're able to kind of show what the environment team is doing, all the trees, all the bushes, everything in a great light, looks really well on you, looks really well on all the other teams. Design being the first. It's inscribed on our orc statue outside, and it really is like one of the main pillars because it can be pretty, but it's not for the play. And then, yeah, directing, visual direction. Everybody hates it when you're fighting against level design. You really want it to be clear. You want it to fade in the background and be something that you're not really fighting against. And communication within the team is really important. You want to be able to take feedback positively. Not all feedback is valid, but not every piece of feedback is right. So being able to kind of listen to everything and act on them. But it helps when you're communicating with the rest of your team that they feel involved and that you're actually acting on some of their suggestions. This is the team structure on the World of Warcraft team as it interacts with level design. So Dungeon Hour, Environment Hour, and effects, the assets to level design is the layout, placement, everything. And we're the customers of encounter design and quest design. When they ask for something, we generally try and match it. We usually are a little bit ahead of them, so we're putting a layout together and we can make minor tweaks. We don't usually wholesale redo something, but it's happened before. Gorgon used to be pretty different. We cut it in half and then rotated it all, so it's other things. It was awful. John likes me to, like, what you should put in your portfolio. And for me, this is really hard. The first time I made a portfolio, I had no idea what I was doing. Every example I found online just really wasn't me. It didn't fit well. There's no answer. I was looking for the answer, like, this is exactly what you should put in your portfolio. So, for me, it's your absolutely best work. Because the weakest part of your work will be the thing that everybody picks on in the meeting. It'll be the first thing that somebody will call out and say, defend that. And if you're not really able to defend it, it's going to look pretty bad. Because it's just going to show them that you're throwing everything out there instead of your best work. Clear screenshots of video. I'm actually really horrible at this. My friend Victor is way better at this. He's a graphic designer, and I'll have some examples of his portfolio way better than mine. A breakdown of what's in the shop and why it's important, where you gather inspiration from, especially if this comes something that's very similar. So you can kind of visualize it. I took notes from this. Intended flow. It's best to show what you're intending versus what the player's going to do, because that'll probably be another thing that comes up. I try to break it. You don't really want to do it's not that bad because players are going to do that. Story points and how like quest design kind of. Usually there's multiple teams in these videos. If you can kind of give an example of what you were envisioning for the space to be, it helps the other team. And this last one is something that I think Victor also does really well. He's a senior 2 level designer. He's really, really good. And he pushed the charge on Arcus, which, love it or hate it, definitely pushed our limitations with 2 skyboxes and force perspective. It's something we didn't do in WoW at all before. Didn't quite fall off for everyone, but I had nothing better than all. So, speaking positively about your work, it's something that's hard for me to do. In my self-reviews, you have to be super positive. prompts, and it gets everybody else excited about it. So it's not bragging, it's just polishing your stuff. This kind of goes back to put your best work up. Take a screenshot, look at it for a while, and find the things that you absolutely hate about it, and then go change those. And then do that like 3 times. And then you'll have the screenshot that's paper polished, and it'll look amazing, because somebody's going to be scrolling through this portfolio really quickly, and they want to see that snappy, like, one shot, and then they'll start. And yeah, be prepared to defend any choice you make. I've gotten called out in several meetings, or several interviews where it's like, why did you do this? And it could be, well, I was told to West task, right? You have to have something there, because if you just go, I don't know, that sounds like a good idea, and they hate it, they'll just eat you alive. Hey, I don't know if you guys know Matthew Berger's up on one of the Diablo channels, and he just ripped me a new one. So let's look at this. I'm really embarrassed. Oh, and stop me if you have any questions, by the way. I don't want to just like keep it very straight. Quick little story about this. So this is where I couldn't first. I applied for a level design position after talking to John. He kind of pushed me, and I was working on a portfolio, and it was feeling really good. And I put in all my stuff, and then the day before I was supposed to interview, he comes to me and says, "Hey, Collin, I need you to do an illustrator for this design test that we have to do." And it's based on like Laravel, which is a fictional thing. I had never used Illustrator before. So it was like lunch when he told me. I was like, oh yeah, I'm feeling really sick, I gotta go. I go home, I get the trial version of Illustrator, and I make this thing. Yeah. This, yeah. You know what a nice Illustrator graph looks like. This was but it got the point across. It had a flow, and it had some QIs, and I could talk to it, so it wasn't that bad, but everybody had a lot. This was my first portfolio. It was made in Word. Yeah. Which is awful. Formatting is atrocious, but it allowed me to do things like kind of set contents. This is a terrible idea. Nobody wants to look at a table of contents for a project. So this is kind of a learn from my former experience. That model I actually forced locked in previous times, and I was trying to keep it. I know how to make art kind of not really, it's just like a slider. I had this veiled aisle, which kind of brings me to my point that I should have put on the other slide, which is don't bite off my page. This is huge. This is way bigger than it ever needed to be. He said, Jonathan Mott said, put a house on a hill here with a road to it and tell a story. And I said, cool, I'll make an island. And I'll have all of these interwoven connected stories, and I'll have all the quest ideas, and it's got a flow with a capper at the end. And this took me forever. This took me way longer than it should, and it's not as polished as what I was thinking. So right here I've got some screenshots of UIs. Look how amazing it is. It looks so realistic. This would not fly at all. But I had descriptions of kind of what the POI was, the quest objective, what I thought in my head as a player through here, and then how I made it, why I made it, and what assets I used if I made my own. I tried to show a little bit of variation, getting some lighting in there. This is actually sorry.
So the question regarding you said put your good work out there. So if you don't like your work, a specific word for it, but someone with experience says that they love it, should you listen to them or should you listen to yourself?
I like to gather like a lot of feedback from a lot of my peers. So if somebody says, "Oh, I loved it," they're always the friend that's always encouraging you. Maybe find somebody that's a little bit more critical, because the critical person will actually give you things to work on usually. They'll be like, "I like it, but these things are a little weird," and then it gives you an actionable item too. But I'm the same. I'm putting up my own work because I don't feel like it's perfect. But kind of getting like a committee of a couple people together will kind of help you narrow down where you're
it possible that you could use the mic? It's a little bit hard to hear over
Yes, with all the.
with all the clapping.
Can you hear me now? Are there any questions? Sorry, I was looking at my own slides because I'm forgetting.
Expanding your skill set, is this something that you did outside of your own work hours, or like the company is helping you like
So all of this, everything that I've done was outside of work time, other than being on the tools team and just learning through my own job. But any of my portfolio was made off hours, and actually kind of funny tangent. When I was making this, I was coming in on the weekends. I was staying really late. I was working on a Wacom tablet that was ancient. I found it in somebody's desk. Jonathan came over and he's like, "What the hell is that?" Here, take this one that's actually useful and has actual pressure sensitivity. Use that. Use that after work. And then one day I came in on the weekend. I was really trying to just get this out so I could submit it. And Ian Hazakostas and Jalen and Brad came through, and they were like, "We thought we were the only ones here. But, what are you doing here?" And I was like, "Oh, I was working on my portfolio." And they took me out to lunch, and it was like a really nice kind of moment where it's having senior people kind of take me around and kind of drill me about this stuff, just because I was there putting the time in. I'm not saying you should, spend your all Saturday at work doing this, but a little bit. I tried to do like an hour or two after work every day, and then at the last end, just kind of push it through. Yeah, so this is just more like I did way too much. All these POIs, all these stories, all these things. You can kind of see where the rocks are getting a little crappy. And that got called out in my interview. They're like, "Yeah, it would have been great if it just made this." And then, I was trying to do things like furniture sets, because I knew that this is something that they did on the team. I'm like, I know how to do that. They were not impressed. And I just tagged my resume on the back, because as long as you have your resume on there, the better. It gets in front of people more. I really hope this doesn't play. This is actually the video of, and if I do, you'll get it. It's not going to play. Sweet. Good. Because it's set to some really awful music, and I suggest not doing that. It's my EDM phase. Oh, hey, it is playing. Good. We can see this train wreck. So this isn't in the engine. This is done in the editor. I snap my camera to the train. I'm following through. I'm so glad you can't hear the music. And I just wanted to show the whole island in a nice snappy video, so people didn't have to scroll through my portfolio. They could just throw it up on a conference or TV, just kind of watch it in the background and rip it to shreds. There's a lot of fakery in here too. It's something that I try not to do, but going along with upping your screenshots, sometimes there are people that can't see an end product. They need to see something that's overly polished. The more artistic-minded people, I have some art design or art leads that if you show them a plateau with just grass on the top, they'll be like, "Oh, it's a little flat." It's like, yeah, it's a little unfinished. Oh, okay. So you get kind of that. So going over the top in one little area to kind of show what your entire area would be can sometimes help sell some of that. Wow, this is a long video. It's like I should have watched it before I put it in my slide deck. But yeah, so this is way too big. This is like, I'm trying to think about an equivalent size POI in World of Warcraft. And it's like, maybe one of the islands, the starting islands for the Draenei, like Blood Mist Isle or something like that. Okay, that's enough. This is my slightly updated portfolio. So this I did like 3 years, two years ago. And I was pressed for time. I didn't want to completely redo the whole thing. I was like, I got it, I'll swap out all of the pictures and it'll just work. Oh, sorry. Really bad. Oh, sorry, point of interest. Any of these things with the names up here, these are named POIs. So anything that's named and called out, and you walk into it, you get a different label across the screen. We all just call them POIs. Basically just areas we're working on. For this, I just slammed in a whole bunch more screenshots, and I was like, oh, look at all this cool stuff I did in Legion, it's awesome. And you got like, I'm pushing the tech with these crazy underwater things that you can jump through, and everybody hates because you can't really tell if you can walk on them or not. It didn't really come across. But yeah, and I have some top-down sections of just the areas. They're really hard to tell like what's going on. A lot of the guys on the WoW team could kind of discern them because they've been looking at them so much. A clearer version, like I could paint over that, would be a lot better on the portfolio. Yeah, screenshots, screenshots, screenshots. And I just kind of went through all the main areas that I've worked on.
How did you get into level 2?
So, being in tools QA a lot, I started talking to the lead level designer and just kind of like, hey, you know, what should I do to kind of prepare myself to if I want to apply? And he kind of sat me down, gave me a task, which was to make a little house in the hill that I forgot. And then he kind of came by and would check on me every now and then. Like, oh, yeah, it's looking better doing that. And I'd hit him up for feedback and everything. And then once a position opened, I submitted this, and it compared to somebody who was just applying from outside, it was a very clear passage for me to get into this position because I could hit the ground running. I already knew the tools. I already had the basic idea of what they were doing, and I could show them that I could commit to it. So, and that's just one way. That's like one of the paths into it. I wouldn't recommend that everybody go through tools QA because it's not for everybody. Yes.
How much level design did you do before you even say click in Gilbert?
0. I messed around with the Aurora tool set, which is probably dating me a lot here. It came with Neverwinter Nights, the first one. And it was all tile-based, so I wasn't actually doing much with it. I was putting tiles together and kind of dressing it up, and it wasn't getting me very far. So 0 level design before coming over here. And Blizzard is different from most level design positions. We're more world builders. We don't do a lot of scripting, but we're like an 80-20 mix of design and art. So we're doing layouts, we're artifying, whereas a lot of other companies, it's gray box, and then the artists come in, go over it, or you're doing scripting events and stuff. So we're kind of different, so it's hard to, I didn't want to like tailor my talk too much towards that, because it doesn't really fit for everything. I'll just skip over my stuff. We'll go to Victor's. As you can see, he's much better at putting together a portfolio. This is something I pulled out because he's showing how he worked to flow through 2 POIs that were opposite factions. So to sell that, you know, these guys are very close because they had to for quests, but you didn't want to really see the camp across the way and like, why is the alliance right next to the board? So what he did is he set up this path and he put visual markers to kind of guide the players based on faction. So there's a Night Elf banner off in the distance that way. If you turn around, you can see the Torrent totems. So coming from one way, you see the Night Elf, which is the flow of the zone for the Alliance side. And the flow of the zone for the Horde side, you got to see that. Now that was a really innovative way of keeping these POIs separate, even though they were right next to each other. He used a ton of trees in between to kind of obfuscate the view from either one. And that was super well done. And another one, this kind of breaks down more, like with the screenshots that I have in mind, but a lot better. The flow for his POIs and how he saw players progressing through it and working with quests to kind of make the tiers. And this was interesting because it was kind of like it was a very narrow gameplay loop for a WoW zone. Usually it's just you can come at it from anywhere and you can leave it anytime. And this was very on rails, which is a little different. And yeah, those are all the slides I have. I don't know if speaking solely from somebody who's coming at Blizzard and just how we kind of go through the hiring process, I wouldn't include any of that in your portfolio like proper, you can have like extra files. If somebody's very interested and they want to dive into everything, they usually just ask for a portfolio, a resume, and a cover letter. Usually, like as applying from outside too. But it doesn't mean you can't like throw in a, hey, here's my Quest stuff too, just and it ties into my level design. But like just for the level design lead, just show things that are like tied directly to your job. They have to go through a lot of these things, so it's like the more that they have to scroll through, or the more that they're looking at something that's not necessarily relevant to the job, they'll just start skipping over things and starting to kind of tune out. So keeping it just like forward of like, here's level design interface, or world build, or whatever you're going for. Yes?
So someone who used, tested these tools and is currently using these tools all day, kind of interested in building tools. What's like maybe one of the most common issues or issues that you have with the tools that you use that kind of inhibit your ability to do the job?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. The WoW tools editor, WoWEdit, is ancient. It started in like 2003, and it was somewhat split off. I don't know the exact origin of it, but it's ancient. And so, compared to a lot of new editors like Unreal, there's a little bit of a learning curve. Just like I said, like if you open the spell editor, there's like 300 fields in there. Whereas there's a lot more linear kind of guided tools nowadays. This is all kind of raw inputs, and it's gotten better. With the tools team is constantly updating it, so it's being brought up and brought up and brought up. Major issues for level design is generally we want to work fast because it takes forever. Those mountains in WoW take forever to make because everything is hand painted and everything is all the verts are hand sculpted. And so you have like something like High Mountain, you're sitting there pulling verts one at a time, trying to get like the nice rock shapes. See if I can find like a good example of kind of, if you can see the verts in one of these rock styles. Okay, so these are simplified. But you can see this point right here. So that's the peak of that vert. So we're going in and we're pulling this vert, this vert, this vert, this vert, and this vert to make a rock. And then we're painting a texture. And for some reason, we always try and reinvent the wheel and make a new rock and a new rock texture for every zone. So, the first thing that a level designer does is they come in with the environment team and they make a little demo using all of the environment art assets, but they kind of just give us the textures. We have to figure out what we want to do with the rocks. We want to see like, oh, is this place dangerous? Should they be jagged and sharp, or should they be kind of pillowy and soft? When you're sitting around like a pond, or are they wash down a river, things like that. I totally forgot what I had started on this tangent on, but we're just going to keep going. So yeah, pulling verts and rocks, and it takes a long time. And so in things like this, where you're placing a ton of assets, you want to be able to drop an asset, spin it around in orientation, scale it and everything, get it just where you want as quickly as possible, because otherwise it just slows you down. I don't know if I mentioned this. I'm no longer on the WoW team, so I'm using a different tool set now. It's similar but different. But yeah, same things. All the same kind of pain points where it's like, I want to place something, I want to scale it. If I have to move a POI, that's hell, especially in WoW. The copy-paste tool in WoWEdit is not very, it doesn't go into a very finite selection circle, so you end up moving like huge, massive pieces and breaking a whole bunch of stuff. But yeah, mostly just anything that inhibits you from being quick is kind of the enemy of a level designer. We're way slower than quests. We're way slower than pretty much every team, which is why we're usually out ahead, is we want to try and get ahead of everybody, set up all the spaces, work in kind of levels where it's like, here's first pass, it's really rough, don't look at it, too closely, squint, kind of do something like that. Second pass is generally a little bit better, it's a little bit more polished, and third pass is like, we can ship with this. So the faster you can get through those iterations so that quests and everybody can come by and put their content in, the better. Because, if I had quests come in here and I said, oh yeah, this is perfect, you can start spawning it up, and they spawn this entire pool right here, And then somebody comes to me and they're like, you know what, that pool's got to go. We mixed the entire river. And I'm like, sorry guys, and now it's a mountain. All of your spawns are under the terrain, and now you have to fix it. So yeah, the quicker we can work, the better. Yes?
Do you ever have to worry about memory when doing level design?
Yeah, level design, we try and go overboard first and pull back. Just because if we were constantly designing for performance, it kind of looks like it's like, oh, there's only 5 trees in here, 6 is too many. Okay. But we have a lot of tools to kind of show us where it's going. Texture memory is one of them. Like Suramar was a pain, because Suramar is this huge city with a ton of stuff in it. We were constantly having to pull things out because it was too much. There were too many verts, there were too many triangles. Texture limitations, because like all of the buildings were there, and Suramar in particular was a problem because I don't have a great picture of it, but all of the zones funnel into it, so you're layering all of the textures from every other zone into it a bit, so you can transition. So it had just a massive performance issue for us, and we had to go back and cull some stuff, cut some rocks, cut some trees, and everything. Another big problem is overdraw, so having layering transparencies over each other, that's pretty massive. We used to have these fog cards, the Howling Fjord fog, if you remember going through Howling Fjord. They're cards, a ton of cards, and we stacked them all together to get this really cool low-level fog look. Horrible for performance, absolutely horrible. And they end up in every zone forever because it looks so good. They're horrible. We used to have a performance champion on our team who would constantly be calling people out and be like, hey, have you looked at performance in that area? Yes, I have, I'll fix it. So, yeah. I'm currently on the next project. Made the transition after a few years because it was just, I love learning and growing, which is part of all of this. Yes?
Say I'm just starting out doing level design. What resources should I look into, or where should I begin?
So there's a bunch now. A lot of the Unreal tutorials are actually really good because they dive down to getting something stood up really quickly so you can start playing with it. Like their height-based editor, or height-filled editor. So you can just, you can copy, I actually did this recently. I copied a section around my house, brought it in Unreal, and you can see all the mountains and stuff that are in the exact same orientation. And it's just like, wow, that's awesome. I wish I could do that at work. So that's a great first start. There's a lot of blogs coming up now. When I was kind of coming up into it, there wasn't much. Like Game Sutra was like the biggest game network for me. And I was like, this is awful. And nobody ever talks about level design. And I hate to say it, but there are some good BlizzCon panels. Not the one that I was on, but the one before, where my lead and a lead artist and another. Anyway, there were 3 people on the panel, and they delved into level design in great detail. I think Gary Plattner is doing a talk Wednesday here, I think, and he's a great resource for. I think his entire deck is about kind of developing as a level designer. Yes.
How important is it to put giant ass landmarks in your level design?
So giant ass landmarks are actually hard. Players don't look up. No player plays like this. So when I take these screenshots, I feel bad because usually you're always tilted down a bit because you're in combat, you're looking at the ground, you're like, am I standing in something? And it varies from game to game, but it's really hard to get a player to look up. Well, we had a few tricks where if you wanted somebody to look at this breathtaking view, you'd want to lead them up a hill and lead them down a hill. Because at that point, you crest that hill and you see this magnificent thing in front of you, and then you will wind your way down to it, and the player doesn't have to look up. Or we tilt you on such a slant that you have to pull the camera up so you can see where you're going, and then you're like, oh, what's that? And we lead your eye, with a bush over here and a tree over there, and all of a sudden you're looking at a world tree. You're like, whoa, I didn't even know that was there because I don't look up. We do it all the time when we're playing through our stuff. We're like constantly looking down and running around somebody else's area, and they're like, how come you haven't seen where you're going? Like, oh, look around. Oh, there it is. A lot of playtesting too helps with that, where you play through somebody's area as somebody who doesn't know anything about it, and just like have somebody watch, somebody playing through your area. You'll learn a lot about guidance. And that's something you can grab just a couple of friends. You're like, hey, just run through this. And you'll watch them like spin around and run into walls and go over, and you're like, oh, okay. Let's clean it up a bit. Let's get a nice heavy road line through here so you know that you can follow this, or let's carve away some trees so you can see something in the distance that you're like, that's interesting, I'll go over there. Yeah. Belshira is like a horrible example of this because it's got roots everywhere, and roots kind of always guide you in a different way because they're all pointing in different ways, and everything's hand placed, and we try and shape everything to lead you somewhere. So you're like, oh, here's the exit, let's point everything kind of towards it and put a torch there, because torches are also a great key tool in leading the player. Put a light there, and I see that over there, and wind my way. Again, I got lost on this tangent. Yes?
When you're doing level design in aerospace, right, when you're going to play the player, you probably don't know where the camera is going to be, and you probably don't know lighting and stuff like that, so basically you're doing for that as a landmark. Do you consider that when you're like in an early stage, because you don't know how the light is going to go in this stage, or like how do you handle thinking ahead and making this work?
That's a good point. There's actually a really good level design talk on God of War that I forgot about. It's on YouTube, and they do it from gray box, and that's really interesting to watch because we don't ever really gray box the entire zone. We get the environment kit in first, we get the lighting in first, because then we know what it's going to look like, and we're like, we've got controls on this. So we start beyond gray box when we start laying out levels, but we put like a landmark in, this is going to be a big hub or a big city. We start putting a couple buildings in there, and then you can kind of build paths to it inside of your shots and get kind of the flow going. And then it'll completely change when quests come in, and we actually don't want you to flow that way, we want you to flow this way, make another one. But it still has that cool shot there that if they ever do walk down there, they see it. Awesome. This has been a lot of fun. I'm glad you guys had it. Yes, sorry. That's good.
How do you feel about for the building level? Do you think that what you have, you can design how far will be sitting before?
So I've messed around with it a little bit, and coming from something that's so handcrafted, I always feel bad about it. I'm like, I want to do it myself. I want to place these trees myself. I want to get just the right, placement. So procedural, I feel like, is a great way to get like a base code in, and then modifying that is where you'll really win, because you'll get all this stuff like first passed, and then you can go in and be like, oh, well, let's move these trees over here, put a town here, we can reshape everything, and it's a great help to bring it up to like a level that you can run around and play in, and then you can just start instantly polishing on instead of sitting here painting the grass right here while everything else is blank in the background. Anybody else?
How much of your level design is kind of quests for gameplay or things like that? Like what level of codes do you get with that level design?
It's kind of it's always a give and take. It's a lot of collaboration. No one side is really telling somebody this is how it's going to be, unless it's the director. The director comes in there like, hey, I want this. You're like, yes, sir. Because if you try and fight that, you'll just end up sad because you're going to have to redo it anyway. But for quests and things, usually since they're coming on and they're seeing it, if you build something really cool, it generally inspires cool ideas. And so they might have a storyline that they're working on, but then they see the area and they're like, oh, but now I've got a cool thought to use this for. I don't know how many people are super familiar with Belshira, but there's like a pool of water somewhere around here above Bastila, and there's a quest where you turn into a wisp and you get eaten by fish. I built that, and I took inspiration from Life of Pi. There's this really cool scene with the water swirling around and those old roots, if you can't tell, that was inspired. So I built that, and it was just a cool thing. And then Quest came and they were like, we're gonna put some content here. I was like, oh, I had no idea. Like, it wasn't built for anything other than this is a cool thing to go in a spot that we don't have anything in. So it can go that way, or it can come back full swing the other way, where they're like, we need a Oregon City that we're gonna set on fire, and you guys are gonna build that, and it's gonna go here. And we're like, yes, because it's part of the story and it moves everything along. But we usually still have some say in that. Like they don't give us a layout. We set the layout, and we set how you flow through it and everything. So it's a lot of give and take, a lot of talking, a lot of getting up and actually running over to somebody's desk and talking about it there. A lot of pointing at monitors and getting fingerprints all over them. It happens so much. Because you stand over somebody and you're like, oh, what if right here would be really, and just touching your monitor. Yeah, lots of give and take. Yes?
You do overrun images, point out like what we made out of 13 wire on
Yeah, so on WoW, we barely made anything. This rock was environment, this bush was environment. Props made the little windows, the door, and everything. Environment made the flowers. Level designers basically just come in like, I want this tree here, I want this tree here, I want this tree here, I'm gonna put some roots here, and some lily pads. We just build based on what we're given. And sometimes we'll grab from other kits and we'll kind of show the artist, we're like, this is what we're trying to do, and usually they'll come in and they're like, we'll support you, we'll make something for that specifically, and you can kind of get that in. But yeah, level design is a lot of like this whole terrain playing. The trees are props that we place. The vines are props that we place. Let's see if I can get these are super great. But all of the terrain that's kind of lumped up in these little islands, it's all a level designer pulling that up, hand painting the grass on it, placing all the stuff, all the trees and everything that we get from environment. Even the waterfall down there. Those are individual waterfall assets that we get from the environment artist, and we have to sculpt the terrain to make them work. Like they give us a general basic one, we can kind of scale it a little bit, but we're building the terrain. So that kind of goes back to the slide that I had. That we put everything together from all the teams and give that to quests and encounters. Yes.
You talked earlier about the level music players. Like, is there ever been a design where you stop and say like simple? Is there ever kind of an end?
Usually it's too simple because then the content kind of fills out the rest of it. It's like Nagran where you have rolling hills, and it's very simple, but it plays really well, and so it's kind of fun. You're not really guiding the player that much through Nagran, that they kind of rolling around the hills. Usually it's the opposite, where it's a pain to navigate through something. We're like, let's dumb it down, and not dumb it down for players. It's dumb the design down because it's usually something in somebody's head that's like, that's this majestic thing, but then you get in there and like, I can't see an exit, I don't know where I'm going. So that's usually where we change it up.
Oh yeah, if you're doing level geometry, vertex by vertex, what's the texturing like?
So the texturing, there's these tiny, they're called quads. I don't actually know what their real name is, but there's like a little, basically around the vertex is a quad, and you can paint in that tiny little vertex. You can kind of paint there, and then it's limited by cells. So a texture cell is probably this big, and in there you can only have 4 textures. And that's a hard limit. We can't render more than 4 textures. So we turn on this little grid, and it'll show you, hey, you've got 5 textures in there. You're going to have to find a way to blend it out. You're going to have to remove one, blend something in. So roads are a pain because roads are at least 1 texture. And you have the supporting stuff around it. So yeah, texturing is difficult. It got better with height maps. There was a point where you had to hand blend everything. There were no height maps. So you were using a speckle brush and kind of, that's actually in here. That's my old portfolio. Okay, that is great. But all those highlights that you see are different texture speckled in. And you would get seams if you were too harsh with them, so you had to just kind of do a whole bunch of tiny circles constantly for hours. It's a lot better. Yes?
How do you guys coordinate something like, this is one of those time I people with us, people are working to big like company, you're making a community that already has a lot or done. How do you guys coordinate? I do A, you do B, you do C, they do automatically connect together, and you have to go on the floor by magic. Like all that process is very done.
It's a giant coordination effort, but what we kind of do is we kind of split up the zone and say, all right, I'll take the top third, somebody else take the middle third, and I'll take the lower third. We leave a decent gap in between unless we talk to each other so that we can blend between our two styles. And something that was really important on WordCraft when I started working there is I didn't make anything that actually went in game for the first like 4 months. I was copying rock styles. I'd go find somebody else's rock style, be able to copy it so that you couldn't tell the difference between the two. There's slight differences that like I can tell who made things in WoW just because I've seen them work. But the idea is it's seamless. So everybody works really well with the kit to get it to the point where everybody's making the same thing. And then we kind of just either horse trade, somebody will take one side, somebody will take another, and then we'll blend it all out. But a lot of meetings too. So we get quests involved. We're like, well, we're going to put all these POIs in all these different places. We'll divvy them up between the levels and yeah, it's a process. We usually had at least 3 or 4 meetings a week. One was actually really good because it was all the level designers in a room and you'd show your progress for the week, which could be fun or it could be not. Because feedback is super important, and we want to get all of the feedback, whether it's positive or negative. And so you kind of have to have a thick skin because you're going into this knowing that somebody's probably going to rip apart something, or maybe somebody will freeze it. But that meeting is really important because you can show something, and if you're having trouble with it, somebody can come in and say, oh, yeah, I can see you're having trouble with this section here. Maybe if you do this, and you get like 3 different opinions, and you can go back to your desk and go, oh, you know what? I like that idea, I'll run with that, and I'll try it out, and then next week when you show us, we'll probably be like, oh yeah, it's awesome. So those are really helpful meetings, and there's another one with like directors and everything in there. You really want to show your best work, because they want to see it too. And those are heart-clenching moments where you're like, I really hope you like this, here you go. Even if they don't, you're still having a lot of fun playing God and painting, making terrain and everything. The job is really fun. It's I can't really imagine doing something else. I don't know if I really want to be a level designer, or an item designer, or an encounter designer or anything. This is just so much fun for me. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, thanks for coming out, guys, for our first night of GDW. For tomorrow, we have Riot at 6 Hall.